Japan owes more than twice the size of its entire economy. The US owes over $34 trillion. China? Roughly $14 trillion. Even Germany and the UK, two of the world's richest nations, are deep in debt. But here's the weird part. These are the top 5 economies on Earth. If they're so wealthy, why are they borrowing money at all? Investors, banks, pension funds, even other countries buy these bonds because they're seen as safe and reliable. For example, nearly $1 trillion of US debt is held by Japan. And the UK? Around 1/3 of its national debt is owned by foreign investors. So how exactly do countries borrow money? They don't go to a bank like you or me. Instead, they sell something called a government bond, which is just a fancy version of an IOU. An IOU is short for IOU, a simple promise to pay someone back later. Imagine your friend gives you $10 to buy snacks, and you write them a note saying, "I'll pay you back on Friday with $1 extra." That note? That's an IOU. Government bonds work the same way, just on a much bigger scale. When a country sells bonds, it's promising to pay back the money in a few years, plus a little extra as interest. And investors love them because they're usually seen as safe. For example, Germany, one of the strongest economies in Europe, owes over 2.5 trillion euros in national debt. A big chunk of that is made up of bonds held by banks, investors, and even other countries, all of them trusting that Germany will pay them back. So we can also see that trust and confidence are the biggest factors in this kind of exchange. Okay, so now we know what debt is and how it works, but why do so many countries borrow in the first place? Here are 5 main reasons, and once you see them, debt starts to make a lot more sense. By the way, they have reserve banks where they can print the money and pay up. But the question is, why the trouble of borrowing at a higher interest? Governments don't get all their money at once. Taxes come in throughout the year, but expenses, like paying teachers, building roads, or running hospitals, happen all the time. So sometimes they borrow just to keep things running smoothly while they wait for more tax money to come in. In 2023, the US borrowed nearly $1.7 trillion, partly just to cover its ongoing costs while waiting for tax revenue. It's like using a credit card to pay bills until your paycheck arrives. Borrowing isn't always a bad thing. It can actually help the economy grow. Governments might take out loans to build new highways, railroads, schools, or power plants. These things cost a lot now, but they can make the country stronger in the future. After reunification, Germany borrowed heavily to rebuild the eastern part of the country. It cost hundreds of billions of euros, but it helped bring millions of people into a more productive economy. Sometimes borrowing isn't a choice, it's a lifeline. During wars, recessions, or pandemics, governments need to spend big and fast. They borrow money to help people, save jobs, and keep the country stable. During COVID-19, the UK borrowed over £400 billion to fund furlough schemes, healthcare, and business relief. Without that borrowing, the economy might have collapsed. Raising taxes is unpopular. Cutting services? Also unpopular. So, governments sometimes borrow just to avoid hard choices. It's a way to spend money today and deal with the consequences later, especially if elections are coming. In the US, both major parties have passed large tax cuts without cutting spending, leading to growing deficits year after year. It's politically easier to borrow than to cut or raise taxes. Strong economies like the US, Germany, or Japan can borrow a lot because investors trust them to pay it back. People actually want to lend to these countries because their bonds are seen as safe and reliable, even during global crises. During the 2008 financial crisis, investors rushed to buy US Treasury bonds, not because the US was perfect, but because it was trusted. Borrowing costs actually went down during a crisis. So no, government debt isn't always a disaster waiting to happen. It depends on how it's used and whether the country can manage it wisely. Debt can be a way to smooth out the ups and downs of running a country, like keeping schools open while tax money trickles in. It can help fund huge investments that pay off over decades, like roads, railways, and clean energy. It can even save lives during emergencies, like during pandemics, wars, or economic crashes. When speed matters more than budgets. And sometimes, let's be honest, governments borrow just to avoid making hard political choices. That's when things can get tricky. Relatable comparison, personal and business debt. But this isn't just true for countries. It's true for people and businesses too. A student loan that helps you become a doctor? That's debt used well. A payday loan to buy things you don't need? That's the kind that traps you. A business that borrows to build a new factory or develop a great product might grow stronger and hire more people. But a company that borrows just to keep paying salaries while revenue falls year after year, that's risky. Debt can build or it can bury. Final reflection and core message. So here's the key idea. National debt is a tool, not a scoreboard. It's not automatically good. It's not automatically bad. What matters is why it's taken, how it's managed, and whether it creates more value than it costs.
Because borrowing money today always comes with one promise. Someone has to pay it back tomorrow.
Just like in your own life, debt isn't the problem. It's the decisions behind. So the next time you hear someone say, "This country is drowning in debt," ask yourself, what kind of debt is it? And what was it used for? Was it a bandage or an investment? If you've ever wondered how money really moves, how markets actually behave, or why governments make the choices they do, you're exactly where you need to be. Subscribe to Investor IQ, where we break down complex ideas into clear, useful insight. No hype, no noise, just what matters. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you as always.